to IDM's info session. I'm going to give it, are we?
Got a slight audio issue.
Oh, okay. Could be muted. Working?
Yep.
Okay. Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to IDM, our second annual info session this year. In the background, you can see that we are in the full throes of manufacturing projects or products. This is the second project of the semester. I'll talk about that a little more in detail later, but it's really a rite of passage for the students in the core curriculum. So I'm going to give you a quick overview, not that quick, at least that's what my staff tells me, and of IDM, what it's about, how it works, and then we will have some students join me as panelists, and you can ask them questions that you can get some real answers from people who are actually in the program right now. So IDM is relatively new. It's about 3 years old, and why did we create it? Well, we realized that there's a certain methodology to creating really fabulous products and businesses, and that methodology revolves around the integration of design, engineering, and business. And so I'm showing you some slides here of really great products that these are the product of that integration. So that's the Eames chair in the upper left-hand corner, a Bang & Olufsen MP3 player, and a B&B Italia couch. And all of these products, not only are they beautiful and desirable and something we all want to have and own and experience, but they also command a price premium in the market. People are paying a lot of money for that couch. Maybe could be about 10 times more money for that couch than, say, a couch at Crate & Barrel. Why? Well, it's sort of the attention to detail and that design part of the equation. Same with B&O. That's one of their biggest value propositions, is just really neat design. The Eames chair is really wonderful because not only is it great design, but the designers involved in that chair, Ray and Charles Eames, they also were involved in creating the manufacturing process for that chair. So those are designers that are not only really good at styling and looking at function and aesthetics, but also good at understanding how things work together. They're almost like engineers. And they also were very good at making things repeatable. And that's a very important thing. And we feel at IDM that if you can't make your products repeatable, if they don't lend themselves to mass production, you're not going to have an impact. So we want to create great products that have an impact. Here's some more products. Starbucks coffee, obviously something that has a really nice user experience. I think it's sort of evolved to the point where people don't go there for the coffee anymore. They go there to kind of take a little vacation from their daily routine. Pixar was just, this company that was able to take 3D animation and make it emotionally compelling. That was a very big kind of leap in the technology at the time, and they're still at the forefront of that industry. Airbnb used design and design process to solve very complicated problems in the idea of rental properties. So they were pretty good at that. Apple Computer obviously has really put a huge emphasis on design and the experience of using a product, and that has made them an industry leader. And then Tesla, this is a company that I predict will be the industry leader, but we're lucky enough to witness it in its infancy as it becomes that, and it's very exciting. And again, at the forefront. I mean, not only is the technology of that Tesla remarkable, but they had the vision to make sure that design was at the forefront of all the products that they created. So what do all these successful products have in common? Kind of hinted at this earlier, but they have a wonderful user experience, something you just can't wait to use or experience. They're all profitable business models, and if you don't have a profitable business model, you don't really care if it's repeatable, because you'd be repeating something that's not profitable, and that's really bad. And they are exciting technologies. So great user experience, profitable business model, exciting technologies, and that's that integration. Design, business, and engineering. Design gives you that wonderful user experience. Business makes sure that it's profitable, and engineering makes sure that the technology is feasible, repeatable, exciting. Working together, you can achieve much greater results than working in silos. And this is the Venn diagram that we use to really kind of drive home the program. So the program curriculum is divided into these three kind of buckets. And the reason is that design, makes products desirable. Business helps to make the enterprise viable. And engineering makes it all feasible. Where they overlap in the center is where IDM tends to reside. And you can see in there we have a red heart, not a star, not an exclamation point. We have a heart. And the reason we have a heart there is that we feel that by doing these things the way we do it, with integrity and sensitivity to the planet, and also sensitivity to how products and services evolve our society, that we can create a better world. And all of our staff, our faculty, and all of our students are committed to improving everyone and everything around them whenever they have the chance to do so. Kind of in short, what we want to do is we want to create really amazing people with vision, people with passion, and people with love. And what we try to do is enable those people with the skills that allows them to change the game. And changing the game is hard. It's hard, it's difficult, it's stressful, there's friction. You're asking people to change the way they do things. And that makes other people uncomfortable, so they resist you. So we try to help empower our students to prepare for that type of experience. We have wonderful industry partners that are big fans of the program. We're also big fans of them. And they will come in and speak to the students and share their insights. They hook us up with opportunities in industry, and they really feel, as this slide indicates, there's a quote there if you can read it, that IDM is sort of the new MBA. It is the new curriculum to really achieve big results, big gains in an innovative, progressive way. And that gives us great confidence. So I like to show that slide for that reason. In IDM, we have these sort of four things going on. We have this design innovation culture. So that's kind of a design studio that you might see in art school. We have a design process that we talk about. Mostly we talk about the human-centered design process, which is also known as design thinking. We don't like to use that term. We think that's sort of a superficial kind of way to describe a process that requires a lot of practice and a lot of passion to do it right. You can't just think about it. You have to do it, and you have to do it with intensity. So we use the word design process. We do this in an environment that we believe is inspiring, and right now we're here in the International Design Center, which is just a great place. There's all kinds of design research going on, and The IDC has great speakers that come in, and they also have been so gracious as to let us use their shops and facilities. Then what you see behind me is our little dedicated space in the IDC. We call it the ID Lab, and that's where all the student teams work very, very hard and have fun. And we have, I believe, extraordinary people from, just everyone. Everyone here, the students, the staff, the faculty, just very vibrant, energetic, fun, and I'd say a little crazy. And that's a wonderful recipe for doing great stuff and having fun at the same time. There's a picture of what the lab looks like when it's not a disaster. You can compare that to what's behind me. Okay, so the cohort. We'll talk about our students. So we have, the program can be, I think most students, 90% of them, maybe more than that, 95%, will go through this program in 2 years. We do offer a 13-month option. It's incredibly difficult and intensive. I don't recommend that, especially because one of the biggest values of IDM is actually the people you'll be here with and spending time with them. And most people, once they arrive, they start worrying about leaving in 2 years. They don't want to leave. They're thinking, oh my God, I've just completed the first semester. I only have, 3 semesters left. I don't want to leave these people. I don't want to leave this environment. So we recommend do the two-year option. And so we have 2 cohorts, the first years and the second years. Right now, in the second years, we have 21 students. In the first years, we have 22. So we have a total of 43 students in the program. They have about 5 years of work experience on average. Their average age is about 28. We have, at the moment, 63% women, 37% men, and 60% are international students. And those international students come from 14 different countries, including the US, and you can see the list there: India, Philippines, Hong Kong, China, Mexico, Iran, Canada, Kenya, France, Honduras, Pakistan, the UK, and Thailand. And we're always happy to add to that list. When you arrive and you are in the program, you come here in about the 3rd week in August, and we have an orientation that is designed to familiarize all the students with MIT and the various mechanisms here that you will be working with to facilitate your degree. And then the other big objective is for everyone to get to know each other and really enjoy each other's company and do some neat activities that are slightly challenging on different levels. So some activities might be challenging intellectually, some might be challenging creatively, and others might be challenging physically. And so that's a really, really great time, a really special 2 weeks or 10 days to bond. And then we get into the semester. That's that blue part, and at which point you are now taking the core curriculum in your first year, which is what we call ID Lab. And that's where we teach this human-centered design process and how it integrates with engineering and business. So we also teach engineering and business in it. And that will be delivered in lectures and workshops. Another sort of format we call X Hour. And then there'll be studio time. And probably the biggest facilitator of the learning are the projects. And in the fall semester, there's 2 projects. There's Project 1, which is 5 weeks. And that project is designed to give the students a very deep understanding of the value of connecting to people, connecting to your market, connecting to your stakeholders, identifying who those stakeholders are, and going out and talking to them, and having a conversation, and building a rapport, and building compassion for them, and hopefully feeling for those people, feeling sympathy or empathy is the jargon that's used these days. And once that phase is done, the students then work on another part of that. The second part of that project, the second half of that project, is really taking all those needs and emotions that you are feeling and that you're thinking about and telling the story to other people. Because if you're the only person who feels this empathy, who feels this compassion, you're not going to get very far in providing a solution for those people if you require other people to help you. So you need to transfer that compassion and empathy to your organization. So we focus on the practice of doing that. We call that expression. All right, so that concludes the first project. It's only 5 weeks. And the second project, which is 7 weeks, and that's the one that we're in the throes of right here, that's where basically everyone in the class goes from nothing to an entrepreneur in 7 weeks, and they will make a profit. So they will start out with this design process, and they will conceive of a product. This year we called it the Bitchin' Kitchen. So everyone had to make a kitchen device. It could be a wooden spoon to a cutting board to a, we have some whiskey stones being made, bottle openers, things like that. And they have to make 50 units. And this really teaches a great lesson about how early design decisions have a big impact on how much sleep you're getting when you're making the production run. And that connection and the sensitivity to those decisions translates beautifully to real products when you're out there as a product manager for, I don't know, Dell or something like that. And that culminates in a sort of sales gala that we have over at Sloan School. And we make that just this really beautiful experience with food and wine, and then everyone's displaying all their products, and everyone's set up with online transactions, like using Square or something of that nature. And the goal is to sell all 50 units. And so in this case, the project is evaluated on sell-through. How many units did you sell? And what was your profit per unit? All right, so that's that semester. We then have IAP, which is the individual activities period here at MIT, and that's a 6-week period where students can, well, actually a 4-week period where students are really encouraged to explore outside of their degree program. So we let them do that. And then in the spring, it's more about design, engineering, business in the lectures, workshops, and X Hour. And we only have one project in the spring, so we call that Project 3. And that's a 14-week long project. The students are working on interdisciplinary teams. Actually, Project 2 was also a team-based project. Project 1, though, is individual. So Project 3, we expect the level of refinement and professionalism to be much higher than in Project 2. And the amount of depth in all phases will be much deeper. And at the end, the deliverable is a documentation package on this hopefully awesome solution that's suitable to give to a factory so that they could make the product in mass. Okay, we hope everyone, so that's the first year. Then we hope everyone goes off and has an internship. If not, no problem, but we encourage internships. We just think that's a great experience. The second year is a little different. You'll be working on finishing up your electives and also starting your thesis. and the thesis is 24 units of the degree, and it can be project-based. We like to call this year, by the way, your incubator year, and that could be your fourth project if it's sort of an optional project. And we hope that people actually, and we've seen this, where they kind of start businesses during this incubator year that is the project and the basis for their thesis. And we do everything we can to facilitate the inception of that business. All right, so that's the 2-year plan. The 1-year plan or option below is those 2 years compressed into basically 2 semesters and a summer. So the summer you would be jamming on your thesis. Not recommended. Okay, so the curriculum for IDM, we have the ID lab. That's where the projects take place. And that takes place only the first year, not the second year. And it's 36 units. And that's sort of this design school approach kind of overlaid on the current teaching here at MIT. So we're really combining everything here at MIT, and we've added design school. So it's really fun, really exciting. The electives are, we have some required electives, 27 units in management and 27 units in engineering. Of those 27 units each, 15 units, 12 units need to be in a foundation. Is that right? 12 in the foundation? Yeah, 12 in foundation and 15 as required electives. And this can be sometimes a little tricky to plan out because you're taking, ID lab and the schedule is such for that, and you see all these courses you want to take, but there's a conflict. But anyway, so you're basically you're required to take basically 2 management courses or 2 and change management courses, 2 and change engineering courses. And we have a list of these courses that we recommend and with the required foundations. We also, the thesis, as I mentioned, is project-based, and that is 24 units. This is your typical day in that core curriculum in ID Lab. So everyone arrives around 11:15 at 11:30, and they all come to this space. And we begin with what we call X Hour. In X Hour, we have guests that come and speak. We also have the students give 30-minute personal presentations. We bring in entrepreneurs and designers, engineers, all kinds of practitioners, thought leaders in all kinds of spaces. Sometimes the people we bring in have nothing to do with product development. Maybe they're just, political leaders, or maybe they've just been through a harrowing experience. The idea, though, is to really sort of expand people's perspectives about what is excellence and what is integrity, and the power of integrity and truth and compassion, and how that permeates everything we do in life. After X Hour, we have about a half-hour break where most people are finishing up lunch, which we provide. And at 1 o'clock, lecture begins. And that's a more traditional sort of MIT lecture. And we will have, faculty from Sloan School, faculty from the engineering school, faculty from all over the institute, as well as dedicated faculty to various topics here with IDM, and some guests. And the lectures tend to be really great. Not all of them, but most. And then from 2:30 to 5 o'clock, we have studio time. And that's where everyone starts working on their projects that are ongoing. And the teaching staff, myself, Andy, the TAs, in this case Anna and John, we go and we meet each team and we find out where they're at and help them with tough questions they may be having. Or sometimes we confuse them. But either way, they feel better because whatever's happening, they know we know about it. And but they, at the end of the day, the students always seem to come up with just amazing work. And then from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Annie McGinnis conducts workshop, and that's really the how-to, the how to make stuff. And so that we focus a lot on three-dimensional products, but we also focus on digital products and experiences. We're constantly working on those topics and adding to them and subtracting. In ID Lab, we have a variety of, this sort of this is a diagram that just shows all the activities going on in ID Lab. We have these lectures, it acts as team headquarters, it's a maker space, it's, these design workshops that Andy runs, we have guest lectures, and we have this user-centered research going on. So it's very dynamic and full of energy. The projects for the, so the projects are both student-generated and industry-sponsored. And this is really pertaining to the project number 3 in the spring semester of the first year. And so we'll have sponsors come in, they will pitch to the students what they believe are some market opportunities. And all the students will also pitch market opportunities. And that sort of fosters the idea of entrepreneurship, because that's sort of the first step as an entrepreneur, is to identify an opportunity. And then you can kind of start the design process. Everyone in the class, all the students, will vote on which opportunities are the most attractive to them. And from that, we will create 7 projects and teams for each one. And they may or may not have chosen the sponsored project, so it's kind of democratic in that way. And we hope the projects are, products or services, but we also hope that they could be a social solution or an economic solution or solving a societal problem. We really think that what we're doing here is well suited to solving those problems, and so we'd like to do more of that. So if anyone out there is interested in that, we welcome that kind of thinking and doing. Some of the projects could become the thesis for the students, and some of them there may be the intent of launching a business based on those projects. For the sponsors, what we do is we try to create an intimate relationship with them and the team, and we like them to have an ongoing involvement with the program. All the IP of the projects belongs to the students, so if the sponsor is interested in taking the or owning any of that IP, they have the team is asked to give right of first offer to the sponsor. And the sponsor can then, if they want to accept, they can pay for it. So they would have to compensate the students in addition to what they paid to sponsor the project. Okay, so admissions, that's happening. So all applicants are required to submit a portfolio. And we get a lot of questions about that. Basically, I think most of the designers that apply to the program, they have a portfolio already, so it's not even a question. Engineers, some of them do, some of them don't. If you don't, I recommend you put one together, whether you apply to this program or not. It's just something that's going to make you very potent in your professional life. And what we ask for, and then business folks, you probably don't have a portfolio unless we're talking stocks, and that's not what we're talking. So you need to create a portfolio. And the portfolio for the engineers and the business applicants, this is the way to think about it. The first 8 slides or so, think of it as a PowerPoint that you'll save as a PDF, but the first 8 slides or so is going to be about a project that you worked on and you tell the story of the problem and all the things you did, the process you used to solve that problem that resulted in, hopefully, a great solution. That's all you're doing. You're telling a story with 8 slides. And in that, we see a result. Okay, and after those 8 slides, all we want to see is maybe 1 slide each on other results that you're proud of, that you've done. And if that's a spreadsheet, fine. Show the spreadsheet, and then give us some bullet points on how that spreadsheet is clever. Okay, engineers, same sort of thing. You know, portfolios don't. We see beauty with many different lenses here. You know, beauty. When we think of beauty, we think of styling. But a hammer, to me, is very beautiful because of the way it functions and the way that it's balanced. You know, where's that center of gravity? How is it weighted? What kind of vibration is transferred? Those are engineering features. If they're done well, it's a beautiful thing. So if you're an engineer, again, 8 slides on a problem that you solved with a result, what your methodology was, we want to see that, and then show us some results. And if it's just like a linkage, some kinematic kind of action that you created that's very efficient, or maybe it uses leverage in a certain way, or maybe it's incredibly quiet, whatever it may be, we can appreciate that. So don't worry about whether we'll be able to see the good or the beauty in what you do. We're really good at that. So that's what we would ask in your portfolios. We will then down select based on the submissions, and those that we kind of select as finalists, we will request an interview. That's mandatory, and we like it to be in person, but we can also do it, you know, through Skype or some other, you know, internet solution. And our admissions deadline this year, it's a little different than last year. It's February 15th, 2018, and we only have 1 deadline this year. So last year we had 2, this year we have 1, and that's probably how we're going to keep it. So mark your calendars. And this is our first year cohort, you know, those smiles are real. We didn't have to tell a joke. And that's our mission there, and I'll just read it for you. So IDM's mission is to enable the learning and development of extraordinary, innovative leaders that will bring new levels of creativity, vision, and integrity to business and society. And I've worked really hard on that mission. And you'll notice it doesn't mention engineering, you know, or design. It's really about changing our society using what I think is a very thoughtful process in which to do that. The reason business is in there is that if we change business, and you know, it seems that our society follows much of the kind of business, the laws of business, you know, the way we market to people, the way cash flows in our society. If we can create better business that has values and integrity, that will transfer through osmosis to society. And so that's why we have that in the mission. Okay, and with that, these are some contact information for you. And with that, I will invite our student panelists up, and we can take some questions. All right, come on up, you guys. Can you get through here? I'll sit over here to the side, or I'll sit over.
However, you're
Have a
so
seat.
framed right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll sit over here. Great.
Oh, thank you.
Sal, why don't you take a mic?
Sure.
And then you guys share this one.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. So why don't we just go start with you, Sal. Just introduce yourself and maybe just a brief little bit of who, you know, what your background is and what you're doing here.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Nice to meet you all virtually, I guess. My name is Sal. I graduated from electrical engineering from Canada, University of Waterloo. I worked as an engineer, as a mechanical engineer for a couple of years in the U.S., and I decided I wanted to change in my career. I wanted to pivot my life a little bit, so that's why I'm here at IDM. And I'm very excited to be here. I'm a first year here, so.
Hi, my name is Jen. I'm also a first year. I graduated from the University of Toronto with an industrial engineering degree. I'm going to focus on human factors. I worked for 5 years as a user experience designer, and then at that point, I also had my own startup a little bit, and I realized I lacked some business sense, and I found IDM that seemed to encapsulate everything I kind of wanted, or wanted to improve myself in, and that's why I'm here. Oh, yeah.
Hi. Hi, my name is Shakti, and it's quite strange because I remember just not very long ago, I was on the other side of this transmission. Yeah. I'm a mechanical engineer, and before coming here, I was in India helping run a small technology company, and now I'm a first year at IDM.
Awesome, thank you. Great, okay, so we have some questions coming in. And the first one is, do students of IDM work/interact with students of other MIT programs? And does this significantly contribute to the learning experience? Who would like to take that?
I can start that off.
All right.
So essentially, IDM, Mondays and Wednesdays, you work with your core class, which is the IDM class. But every other day there, and even other times on Monday and Wednesday, you will work with the Sloan School of Sloan School of Business and the MIT School of Engineering. You will take classes there, and what that means is you're going to interact with every student in those faculties. And it definitely does contribute to a learning experience. You're going to have to learn to work with people who are very experienced in their MBA. They come in with executive MBAs, so there's people with a lot of experience there, from CEOs to analysts to consultants, and then engineers, obviously very, very smart people. So it's definitely an experience to work with a whole bunch of these people. So yeah.
And to, I guess, expand on that a little bit more, there are a lot of opportunities like hackathons or whatever else that you can participate in where you can interact with people from different backgrounds. And you just get to learn a lot from these fabulous people. And there's like actually a random program, like I guess it's a website called like Connect at MIT. So basically they pair you up once a month or however often you want to connect with a random person on campus. So it might be somebody from the media lab one week, and then it could be like a Sloan student another week, or it can be a professor or something. So there's a lot of opportunities to interact and to learn from other people.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd say hell yeah to both of them. Like it's and other than just classes, I think there are just tons of clubs and activities where you can go and you meet people, and there's no restriction on courses. This just, you meet everyone there, so it's absolutely.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Here's another question. So for you guys, what are your goals for after IDM? And have they changed since you arrived?
Well, so I think the very honest answer would be I have long-term goals, and which are still more or less the same since I've come here, but I have no idea what I want to do post IDM right now. Like I'm still in the phase where I'm discovering, and I find that like amazing. This is absolutely the best place to do it. So I was confused. Now I'm like at least like confidently confused.
Well, I'm glad we could be of help. Yeah, that's great.
I think for myself, I'm kind of in the same boat as Shakti. I think when I applied, I initially understood that, you know, in terms of my career, I didn't want to stay in UX anymore, because I just realized that it restricted me to one particular medium of solving a problem, and I didn't like that particular restriction. So I wanted to get into IDM and to be able to expand myself and to do a bit more, you know, physically oriented things and learn a bit more about that. And then I was hoping, you know, somebody much smarter than I am told me that I needed to either focus on a people group or a problem, like just pick one gen, because your life, you just have too many interests. So, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, but like one of the things I wanted to do here at MIT is to discover different problems I might be interested in solving, or to be passionate about people group. And there are a lot of opportunities in this university to find those things. And you know, you can go one day, like listen to somebody talk about negotiating with North Korea, like at my dorm, which was really weird. And then the next day talk about, you know, biomedical devices. So, you know, I'm still in the process of exploring that. But what I do think that IDM does is it gives me a really well-rounded skill set to go out and do whatever it is that I want to do when I find the thing that I want to do.
I definitely had a goal coming into IDM, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do after, but it's funny, when I arrived, everything changed. And it's all different now. It's all messed up in my head, and I have no idea what I want to do. So I am also in the same boat as you guys. I thought I was very confident coming in, but I guess not. So who knows what's going to happen after this? But yeah.
Yeah, you know, before we just sort of let go of that question, why do you think things changed for you? You came here, you were admitted because you had some pretty clear visions, you know, and now those have changed. What was it? Like, what is it that sort of caused this?
I think personally for me, it was more just an expansion of what I was capable of. So coming here, I felt like I knew what I wanted to do, but when I was actually in the program, I realized that there's a whole bunch more to me that I can contribute to the world. It was an eye-opening experience. So basically now I'm trying to figure out all these different things that, hey, I'm actually good at this. I'm good at medical devices. I'm good at engineering. I'm good at design. How do I explore what opportunities are more available to me than just what I want to do in the past? So.
Yeah.
I guess for myself, I think what's cool about this place, or why. So initially, I kind of wanted to come in, and maybe if I come out, I can work at some company that did like an IDO or like a frog situation, where I can work at some place that solves problems and whatever. But then I come into here and I realize, one, there's a lot of companies that do this, not just those two, and two, that like maybe there's something beyond that. You know, there's something like. Yeah. In the future that's bigger than that, and I think that then my sights kind of change, and I want to find that thing that's next, not necessarily these things that already exist.
I'm glad I asked this question because these are really good things to hear.
Yeah,
Shakti,
I think for me it completely flipped the whole opportunity scenario, where earlier I would think about like what opportunities I had and then decide what I want to do. But here you have everything, like it's absolutely everything you can imagine, and just like the scale is really weird. Like you'd bump into astronauts, and you'd have like a Nobel laureate sitting like next to you, and remember this TED talk you saw 3 years ago, and that guy's in your class every day. So it's now just whatever you want to do. It's just a choice, which makes it harder, but still, I guess it's more fun.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, we have another question here. What differentiates IDM from other programs playing in this space? For example, Stanford Design Impact, Northwestern EDI, UPenn IPD, or from an MBA with design thinking.
Those are in quotes.
Yeah.
Being sarcastic.
Yeah, no, it's exactly.
I want the name of the person who submitted this question. No, I'm just kidding. Would you guys like to try to answer that
Sure. So basically,
before I start ranting?
yeah. I'll give you the student perspective.
Thank you.
It's funny. I looked through most of these programs, and I ended up just applying to IDM. It was I didn't even apply to the other ones just because I guess one, it was MIT. The other was, it almost was kind of fate how I found the program. It was weird from how I found Stanford or Northwestern's program. It was just, I just did a Google search for Stanford design and found it. But for this one, I was actually doing a search for industrial design programs, and then Matthew's name came up, and from Rhode Island, where you used to teach, and then somehow linked me back to IDM, and it just felt like it clicked. There's no real cool story there. It was just like almost like a fate thing. So I didn't even bother to apply to the other schools. So I know what they do, I know what they're about, but they didn't connect with me. So, and there might have been other reasons too, but I felt like this was the best choice for me. So.
I have a rather fluffy answer. Do you have anything more solid?
But yeah, I think when I was looking at the programs, I remember going through. So yeah, I had a similar story because someone told me about IPD, and I was looking at their website, and it just seemed really blocky, which is funny because their website is also squares. So it's just and I was and I was looking around. I was like, this seems like it's there, but it's not exactly what I want. And then I just came across IDM, and it just I don't know. I don't really know what.
All circles and hearts.
Yeah.
No.
And it's just something about it was different, and plus it was MIT, so it was all of it just like came together.
Yeah, I think that's basically around my story as well. I had known somebody that was in the program a year, in second year now, and she had gotten in. and she had told me about this program, and I had looked at the Stanford stuff as well, and at that time, when I looked at the Stanford stuff, this was a couple of years ago now, I personally just found it to be an add-on, so that wasn't something that I wanted. I really, just in my work itself, I had realized how important it was that all like design, engineering, and business needed to be integrated in order to get anything moving, and in an efficient way, and in the way that everybody is happy. And like there was another degree I wanted to pursue. I didn't want to do a master's. I wanted to do more work, so I actually spent a lot more of my time during the application process applying for other jobs that may get me into more of a product design role in the physical world. But this program, just because of what it was, and my friend who had vouched for it, and then I came by here and met Matt and the team and everybody else, and that kind of convinced me that this is where I needed to be.
I'll just add also that, I'll talk about what I think are some differences, but I could be mistaken because I don't know the other programs as intimately as I know IDM, but I can tell you that I suspect that IDM is different in that it's incredibly deliberate and purposeful about the shared integration of these three disciplines. Like 1/3 of our cohort are designers, 1/3 are engineers, and 1/3 have business or management backgrounds. And that's just a very purposeful kind of curation requirement. The same with the faculty. And I think also, MIT had the courage to hire me, which is a designer, right? Knowing that, well, I don't know if they knew this at the time, but it was fortuitous because, here we have incredible business school, Sloan. We have this incredible, obviously, engineering school, right? But there's no real design school. So they hired their weakness. Right? They hired a designer. And so that now you had these equal voices. So these equal voices and all that. So I think that's probably a really big difference. And I think the way, so I think that's probably the biggest thing. Okay, next question. Is there a TA-ship/scholarship program? Would you guys like to answer that, or? I can do it if you want.
I mean, I have a little bit. Like, I'm Canadian, which makes it a little harder to get scholarships, apparently, in America. And some scholarships also require you to, well, if I'm Canadian, so once again, it would require me to go back to Canada after a certain number of years. There were certain restrictions on, like, my future if I took some of those scholarships. So I actually didn't, and I was lucky enough to work for a couple of years before coming here, so I just felt that I didn't want those restrictions necessarily define my future, so I really didn't take on any scholarships. There are TA positions available, and some people, like, I don't think any of us worked in our first, I don't think anybody worked in our first semester, but there are people that are going to TA next semester, and yeah, so.
There are also fellowships, so it's not just TA-ships, scholarships. There's fellowships, and there's 2 students in our class who are at a Legatum Fellows and a Tata Fellow.
Right.
And that basically means you're covered for your school. So,
Yeah.
But TA-ships, where no one's going to do it in their first semester. Try to, I guess, earn some money before that for your first semester. But then in your second semester, definitely I think we're all looking for TA positions. They're paid pretty well. And also scholarships. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of scholarships and there's tons of support. It's just you got to put in the work to apply to them. So,
Yeah. That's sort of the rule of thumb that I say is if you can sort of self-finance your first semester here, by the end of that first semester, you'll probably have found financing for the remaining 3 semesters. But getting here, you got to get here first to sort of travel around the campus, meeting people and telling them about who you are. The other thing I've noticed is that IDM students seem to be very desirable in these fellowships. And I think that's because we are practitioners of this human-centered design process. And so design thinking is what everyone kind of has in their heads. And when we go in, and when our students go in and we say, hey, we do design thinking, we call it ACD, that's what all these people want on their teams. They want people to help them with that human-centered design process or design thinking. And when they have an expert that you get with IDM, it's very desirable. So I think we get a disproportionate amount of these opportunities, and it's really great. So, Okay, next question. What are the alumni of MIT IDM doing now? Are all of them turning into entrepreneurs? Some are, but not all. So we've had one graduating class, and they graduated in 2015. We had 18 students. 15 of those 18 graduated with their MS in engineering and management. 3 of them continued their education here. So they went to EECS, to do a dual degree with them, or one's doing a PhD at another notable university. So we had a few entrepreneurs, that's true, but we did have a bunch that went to companies, and those that went to companies, we had one that went to Salesforce, one that went to Schlumberger, actually 2 that went to Schlumberger. We had one go to Sony PlayStation. We had one going to General Dynamics Electric Boat. We had one that went to Keurig Green Mountain. And we had one that went to a company in India called Selco. And that last one actually became CEO of that company. So that's pretty much it. They run the gamut. It's really, we try to prepare people to fulfill their dreams. And I think one of the things that design process does is it allows you to be versatile in solving any problem, including what that dream might be. Okay, let's see. Next question. If applicable, how have students addressed showcasing potentially proprietary material in their portfolio for products they've designed within larger companies and may not be released for several years? Yeah, that's a tough question. Generally speaking, I would say don't do that, okay? But if there's something that is, you could speak very generally about it. Now, the other thing is that, so let's see, if you have proprietary material and it's not protected, you better release it in several years or you're not going to be able to protect it. So I think that there's, we're talking about 1 year. So as soon as you get a patent, you should be able to disclose that information, especially to us, without worry. The other thing you could do is you could speak about it in general terms. You could talk about what the problem was. You could talk about, that you identified this particular area as the real root of the root cause, and then you worked on solutions for that. You don't have to get detailed about maybe what those solutions are, but we start to see in that process, okay, what's important here is that they realized what the true problem is, as opposed to trying to solve the wrong problem, which is what typically happens. Do you want to add?
Yeah. So I worked at a UX company, and there were a lot of things I wasn't, and it was kind of awkward to ask what I was allowed to put on my portfolio personally, because I didn't want to especially show that I wanted to leave. So what I kind of did was I figured out what was my company sharing with other people. So I was in a lot of pitches, which was also really helpful. So I figured out what they were willing to share on a private, kind of not public display manner. And then how they shared that and what parts were anonymized and what parts were not, and I just kind of followed those guidelines. And since then, my company has seen my portfolio and they're fine with it. So.
Awesome. So, yeah, I think I handled that similarly because we had a lot of processes. We were working with applications of drones, and we could speak about the process, but there were specific technical details which I could not release. So I outlined the entire process, as you mentioned, of the problem area and what sort of a solution we had, but without going into specific technical specifications. So I think that worked.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it did work. All right, great. So we'll go to another question here. Are there any career resources, like networking events, or special opportunities catered to IDM students, that are available to IDM students outside of what's available to typical MIT students? So I guess what the question is asking is, are there special sort of opportunities that IDM has for its students in addition to what's made available by the general MIT community. I think the short answer to that is we're working on it. What I mean by that is, this has been a little bit of a learning process in the sense that, we saw this coming, but the value proposition of our students is unique. It's a unique value. And the world is just becoming aware of the need for these types of people and what they possess. And so we are in this sort of really neat spot where we're on the very cutting edge. We're this emerging technology, in a sense. We're an emerging kind of solution to most of the world's problems. And so we need to somehow increase awareness in the world that they can get really amazing thinkers to facilitate really high quality solutions here at IDM. And that's hard to do because we have a whole, we have hundreds of years of legacy of certain problem solving methodologies that have not really been working so well lately. And so kind of steering that and evolving that is taking some time. So we're working on that. We have some ideas, but the short answer is kind of. And we are planning some career development activities that we're going to be trying out this year, which we're kind of excited about. You want to add?
Yeah, I think other than that, I feel like there aren't structured activities as such. That's what we're working on. But I think other than that, there are so many opportunities where the interactions are very fluid. I mean, we had Don Norman the other day just sitting in this room, and you have access to like people coming here talking all the time. There are so many representatives from companies, and anyone right now on campus who's thinking about launching a product is just hears about this and comes here and gives us a pitch. We had 2 of them like in last few weeks, so it's. Right. I think it's not structured yet, but definitely there are a lot of opportunities you get just by being here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And towards what Matt said, like, I think I mean, as you guys probably know, because you're here listening to us, that it's kind of hard to find even jobs in an area that kind of combines all these 2 things, explicit titles that define that. It's almost impossible because we are something so new. But if for example, I'm going to Jordan for IAP to work on an accelerator with the Media Lab, and I'm going to be a consultant there because I have this background in design and combining these things together, so I can advise people that are doing startups in the Middle East. So that's something that wasn't explicitly told as IDM apply here, but it was like after talking to the people, it's very obvious that I was a good fit for that. So it does require a bit more digging, but you will find something that's very suited to what you need. Maybe they don't even know what they need.
That's it. Yeah. The world doesn't know what they need.
Yeah.
But
Can I just add something? Real
yeah,
quick?
go for it.
So there's a lot of big companies that come to the MIT Career Fair and stuff, and I went to those career fairs, and even though they're geared towards more traditional engineering roles, when I spoke to each of the recruiters and I told them what I was doing, a couple of those companies have reached back to me as internship positions for these unique roles that you would never discover. They're never advertised publicly. So for example,
That's
there's
right.
like an innovation role that someone told me that they're interested in hiring me for. So these roles come out, they're just not advertised to you. You just have to go look for them or sell yourself so you find them. So,
Yeah, we see a lot of that. And, like even in our first graduating class, students were being contacted. They didn't even apply to any jobs. Right. And Tesla was reaching out saying, we need your thinking. Could you please, anyway, they turned that down. But okay, so here's another question here. There was a question before this. What was it? Oh, it was a question about doing this in 1 year. Will you go crazy? No, you won't. We'll make it happen because you have sponsorship for 1 year. Yeah, so it's okay. We'll make it happen. And there's actually, I think Julia is doing it in 1 year, and she actually made it look easy, or she's making it look easy, right?
Yeah.
So the person whomever wrote that question, reach out to Melissa or myself, and we could put you in touch with Julie, and you could ask her about the experience she's having right now with the course load. Okay, so that's about all the time we have. So thank you for joining us. Remember, if you'd like to learn more, send an email to idm@mit.edu, and we'll get back to you right away. And if you'd like to set up a call or a Skype call or a campus visit, you can also reach out through that email address, and we'll set that up. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.